Welcome back to Yang Daily. I'll be your host, Alex Cheney, bringing you all the Yang news you need to live your life right. The big infrastructure bill has been unveiled, along with a couple other big policy developments. Let's dive in. Quick shout out to our Tier 3 patrons, Peter Park, Shay Meehan, and Nathan Stankowski, as well as all our other patrons. You keep us all informed and engaged. If any of you out there want to join these advocates of humanity first and independent journalism, head on over to patreon.com/yangdaily. It would only take a couple of bucks a month from each listener to keep this podcast and community going and growing into the future. Now on to the news. Biden has revealed the first half of his infrastructure package called the American Jobs Plan. It's another huge bill with dozens of elements. In broad terms, the initial proposal includes rebuilding 2,000 miles of roadway, repairing bridges, expanding access to high-speed broadband, replacing lead water pipes, improving access to drinking water, upgrading the electrical grid, building out green energy, improving community care facilities for seniors and people with disabilities, modernizing schools, retrofitting homes and office buildings, training millions of workers, and supporting labor union initiatives. The spending would span 8 years and generate millions of jobs. Funding would come from a 7% increase on corporate taxes, raising them from 21% to 28%, and more taxes on corporate profits earned overseas, which would cover the cost in 15 years. Though Biden has said he is open to alternative funding options as long as they don't raise taxes on earners under $400,000. Biden has said he will present a second package called the American Families Plan in the coming weeks, which will focus on investments in healthcare, childcare, and education. That seems like the one that emergency UBI would fit into, though sooner would be better. Roads, pipes, and grids are important, but money is required to access that infrastructure. If you can't afford transportation, roads don't do a lot for you. If you can't afford water or electricity, pipes and cables aren't super helpful. UBI is a guarantee of access to all that vital infrastructure, as well as the social infrastructure of education, childcare, and more. So tell your representatives that recurring monthly checks must be included. Biden has also issued an executive order to the Pentagon reversing Trump's ban on transgendered service members. New policies state that transgender people may enlist in the military and receive all necessary gender-related care, that those currently serving may openly identify as transgender and formally change their gender marker, and prohibits trans discrimination, effective April 30th. This aligns with the policies of over 20 other countries, none of which have been shown to experience diminishment of unit cohesion or military readiness as a result, nor did the U.S. prior to Trump's discriminatory policy. The comments section of these announcements, on the other hand, are a prime example of bigotry, scarcity mindset, and complete ignorance of the fact that our military exists to protect America's founding ideals, which, broadly stated, is the right to live freely. The comments are endless vitriol over people being allowed to live their lives as they see fit, and over them escaping discrimination while others are still discriminated against. Human rights are not wokeness. They are the founding principle of America. If you don't understand the importance of the right to live freely, then you don't understand what our military exists to protect. Try visiting an authoritarian country that discriminates against a group that you are part of, and you will figure it out quickly. To those complaining that the military still disqualifies people for a host of other reasons, pointing to some other discrimination is not remotely sound justification for continuing all current discrimination. It's scarcity mindset and a recipe for a race to the ethical bottom. Fight for progress on those groups next, rather than oppression for all. Stepping off the soapbox now. Sarah Palin and her family have contracted COVID. As it often seems to go with science deniers, suffering the virus has inspired her to a new appreciation of mask wearing. It's pathetic that it takes such lengths, but it's good that she is finally encouraging others to take protective measures. Europe is still in the midst of a COVID surge. France has entered its third national lockdown, which will last a month. Cuomo has signed the marijuana bill. New York State has officially legalized the use of cannabis. Individuals are now allowed to possess up to 3 ounces for recreational purposes or 24 grams for concentrated forms such as oils. Use in public is permitted wherever tobacco smoke is allowed, except in workplaces and vehicles. The bill will automatically expunge the records of those convicted of weed-related offenses that are no longer criminalized. And finally, if you live in Florida and want to see Marco Rubio replaced by someone who supports UBI, or brain activity in general in the Senate, Alan Ellison is your guy. I'm not certain if he's in favor of true UBI as opposed to a somewhat conditional guaranteed income like mayors for AGI are. He has multiple times said that he supports UBI, but he's also called it a wage subsidy. Either way, it's a huge step up from Rubio, and Ellison would likely support a UBI bill were it presented to him. He also said he supports some form of M4A, Green New Deal, and legalizing pot. It should be clear at this point just how important every single Senate vote is, so let's get as many of them as possible. And that'll do it for today's Yang Daily. Bookmark and share the American Jobs Plan, the trans policy change, and the New York weed bill. Check out Ellison for Florida. Flood Congress with calls, tweets, faxes, and letters using the Resist bot or Income Movement Easy Contacts below. If you need help, consult Humanity Forward, the Income Movement Aid Database, the Mission Asset Fund, or United Way, and don't forget to Yang Daily.